And as these images and stories of what's happening in the Middle East continue to be shared and discussed a lot at times on social media, a lot of people are struggling figuring out how exactly to talk to their kids, especially young kids, if they know about this, about what is going on in the Middle East.
Joining us now is Nicole Ibarra. She's the Director of Mental Health at the Redwood City and San Mateo Kaiser Health Centers. Thank you so much for joining us to kind of help us handle and figure out how to have these conversations. I was speaking with my mother earlier. I know she and many people have turned to prayer to try and understand, or at least feel as though they're doing something to help those overseas. But I'm curious, when it comes to having conversations with kids, is there an age range where it's more important for the parent to engage in the conversation first, or do you wait for your kid to ask you questions? How do you even begin that conversation?
Yeah, I think, what's really important first is to really just kind of go within and really validate your own emotions and experience, because we as human beings, as parents, it's really hard for all of us, right? And our kiddos are constantly watching us as models to see how are we processing our emotions, how are we handling our stress, how are we handling hard things in this world. And that's really important that they see that we are actually able to have difficult conversations. I think as parents, as caregivers, we tend to really want to protect our children, preserve that innocence. But, I think in the long run, we can really help our kids with anxiety and kind of reducing that and increasing the sense of safety if we are able to lean into those tough conversations in a very age-appropriate way. So one suggestion that I have is first starting the conversation, being just really curious about what it is that they already know, right? They might be having conversations at school with their peers. There's chances that they've potentially seen videos online. So first, just being really curious about what it is that they have already heard and that they know. I also suggest asking open-ended questions, seeing how they're feeling, asking them, hearing this stuff, how are you feeling? How is this impacting you? And really being able to sit and hold that emotional space for them is critically important. Also, in an age-appropriate way, I think it is okay to give them facts. I would try to avoid some of the detail if possible, but really giving some facts about what it is that is going on in this world, and then again, tracking with them and checking in to see how that's impacting their body, their minds kind of in that moment is really important. Different kids develop at different ages, so it's hard to give an exact age. I think rather than selecting an age, what's really important is to find out what it is that they already know and find out what their tough questions are, and being able to answer those questions in a way that helps connect them, to a sense of safety, and helping them identify people in their lives who provide safety for them, whether that's other adults at school, other people in your family or in the community, to let them know that there's a lot of people in this world that really care about them staying safe.
All right, well, I'll make this super personal. I have two young kids about to turn 7 and 9. They're Jewish. I don't know if they know about it. We haven't talked about it. I've been in denial, basically, not wanting to
have the conversation,
sort of go there because they seem so young to me. But by the same token, I know that kids talk at school, and some kids probably, the 5th graders probably know at their elementary school. So what would your advice be to a parent like me who doesn't know if their kids know? Do you still try to ask those soft, probing questions that you alluded to, or do you just kind of wait in that case?
Yeah, I would say, starting off just saying, how was your day? How was school? What are you learning? What are you guys talking about in the classroom? Are you guys talking about any important events that are happening in the world, to see if it's coming up? And if it's not, I would say at the age of 9 and 7, because I myself actually have an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old, and they have not brought it up to me yet. We are also Jewish, so it's hitting very personal, so I really can connect to what you're going through. I myself have not brought it up with them, as they haven't, but there's been other really tough events in the world that they have been really privy to. For example, we live in Half Moon Bay, and when the active shooter incident was happening, we lived very close, and they knew, what was happening. My daughter was lining the door with toy cars to try to protect our house. So we had to have some really tough conversations then. But I do suggest at the age, of your kids, kind of waiting to see what they bring to you, and being just really curious about what they've heard before you go there.
Yeah.
Are there any things to maybe avoid saying or any words that may cause more distress than help? Because I feel like that can also, cause a kid to be a little bit more worried or scared that something may happen to them. So are there any trigger words that parents should maybe avoid?
I would avoid more of the details of, what's happening to people. Kidnapping, right? Kids get really scared, I think, about, getting separated from their caregivers. So I would avoid, talking about kidnapping, talking about getting taken, talking about being separated from people that they love, reminding them each day who's picking you up. Your schedules might change with different after-school activities. So just reminding them who to expect and at what time, I think is really important.
And then you have older kids. I've seen things online where, there have been these warnings going out or suggestions to have kids who have phones, who have social media, to delete all their TikTok apps and Instagram apps because the videos are so barbaric and horrifying that even if you're an older kid, a teenager, I don't know, 15, whatever, it could obviously still really, really mess you up, for lack of a more eloquent way to put that. What do you suggest for older kids?
I think it's an opportunity to teach them about containment. Get curious about images that they've already seen and asking them, how did that impact you? What did you feel? Did you notice your heart rate increasing? Did you notice that you started to feel really nervous and scared? And, kids oftentimes, they want to do the opposite of, especially teenagers, what we want them to do. So rather than just saying, I forbid you from your social media for the next week, I would really say, hey, you told me when you saw this that you felt sick, that you felt scared. I'm wondering if it might be good and healthy for us to take a break, right? It's really healthy a lot of the times for us to have a lot of things in doses. And I think it's really good self-awareness to know when we need a break, whether it's from a relationship in our lives, whether it's from doing something that's no longer bringing us joy, and kind of inviting them to be a part of the solution and kind of come up with their own ideas around what may help them feel more safe in terms of social media restrictions.
The last thing that I did want to ask about is in terms of bullying. Obviously, none of the fighting and devastation is happening here at home, but here at home, that's where discrimination can arise at school. If, students know that their fellow classmate is Jewish or Palestinian, there are potentials for bullying. How can you make sure you have a kid that is not engaging in that type of behavior towards other students?
Absolutely. I do think the schools are doing such a better job, than when I was growing up in terms of talking about diversity, equity, inclusion, differences, embracing those differences. I think having those conversations at the dinner table right now more than ever is completely critical. Talking about, how we all come in different shapes and sizes and colors, and embracing that, embracing our peers who are different from us, I think is really important. And we can also incorporate, religion into that conversation as well. And I think if you have any concerns, go to your kid's teacher, request to have a conversation with them. And I think it's also okay too to ask your kids' teachers, what are you guys talking about in the classroom, so that I know and I can be prepared at home to support our kids. And also ask them, would you mind having a conversation right now about, embracing differences. The holidays are coming up, talking about different ways that, different families celebrate holidays or do not celebrate families, I think would be a good suggestion as well.
Well, we're going to have to leave it there because of time. Nicole Ibarra with Kaiser, really appreciate your perspective. Obviously, you're an expert. I think a lot of that probably made a lot of sense to people, and certainly we can use a little bit of reason and calm and your expertise in these times. So thanks for your time.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.